So March 8th rolls around every year, and we all see the posts for International Women's Day. But what are we actually celebrating? Is it about getting flowers and seeing corporate discounts pop up everywhere? Or is it a day for protest, for struggle, for real political change? Today, we're going to dig into the forgotten, radical history of March 8th and try to make sense of it all.
Okay, let's just dive right in, because honestly, the way we see March 8th today is kind of confusing. It feels like it's trying to be two completely different things at the exact same time.
I mean, think about it. On the one hand, you've got brands pushing sales, and your social media is probably filled with these feel-good, celebratory posts. But on the other hand, you have streets packed with protesters demanding basic human rights, and they're often met with police in riot gear. How did one single day come to mean two things that are so completely opposite?
To figure that out, we have to rewind the clock, way back over a century ago to the day's socialist origins. And let me tell you, this story doesn't start with a greeting card. It starts with a call for revolution.
Everybody, meet Clara Zetkin. She was a German socialist and really one of the key architects of International Women's Day. And for her, the idea was crystal clear. This wasn't just about getting a pat on the back. It was about radical social and economic change. She and her comrades believed you couldn't separate women's liberation from the larger class struggle. It was always about rights, not roses.
So here's how it went down. Picture this. It's 1910, and there's this big conference of socialist women in Copenhagen. Zetkin gets up and proposes creating an international day to push for women's demands, especially the right to vote. The idea gets a unanimous yes, and boom, the very next year, the first Women's Day happens, with huge demonstrations all across Europe. And you gotta notice the original name here, International Working Women's Day. That one word, working, is everything. It tells you that this day was born out of the labor movement. It was for and by working-class women who were fighting for basics like better pay, shorter hours, and fundamental rights.
Okay, but wait a minute. Those first celebrations weren't actually on March 8th. So how did we land on that specific date? Well, the answer is found in a historic strike that literally changed the course of world history.
It all comes down to two simple, powerful words: bread and peace. This was the demand from thousands upon thousands of Russian women who flooded the streets back in 1917. They were just done. Exhausted by war, by starvation, and by the government at the time. And what's truly wild is how fast everything exploded. On March 8th, women who worked in textile factories just walked off the job. This wasn't some big organized political move. It was a spontaneous uprising. The strike just grew and grew, shutting down the entire capital city. And get this, just 4 days later, the Tsar, the Emperor of Russia, was forced to step down. This moment, which kicked off the Russian Revolution, was so huge that in 1921, March 8th was officially chosen as the day to remember it.
So, the day finally had its date, sealed by a revolution. But its journey from a socialist holiday to a global phenomenon, well, that was just getting started.
Over the next few decades, something subtle but really important started to happen. That word working, or emekçi in Turkish, slowly started getting dropped from the name. This made the day appeal to a much wider audience, beyond just its socialist roots. Then came the really big turning point. In 1975, the United Nations officially started celebrating March 8th, which cemented its status as a mainstream global day of observance. Now, to give you a little context for what the world was like in 1975 when the UN made this official, think about this. In all of human history up to that point, only 4 countries had ever been led by a woman. Just 4. The progress since then has been, well, pretty remarkable. We went from just 4 countries in 1975 to now having seen over 60 with a woman as their head of state or government. That is a massive shift in less than 50 years. But, and this is a big but, let's put that in perspective. While the historical number looks good, the number of women actually in those top jobs right now is still incredibly small. As of today, only 13 countries have a woman leader. That original fight for equal representation that Clara Zetkin was talking about? Yeah, it is far from over.
And that brings us right back to where we started, to that other face of March 8th, the one that's defined by struggle, not just celebration. The day's original fiery spirit of protest is very much alive, especially in places where women's rights are constantly under threat. Let's take Turkey, for example. In Turkey, March 8th really started gaining momentum in the 1970s. A lot of that was thanks to groups like the Progressive Women's Association. They were instrumental in turning the day from a small, quiet commemoration into a massive public event for the very first time. The history of March 8th in Turkey has really been a constant battle. After it started gaining ground in the 70s, it was completely banned after the 1980 military coup. When it came back in 1984, it remained this critical day for activism. But in recent years, the marches are often met with government bans and a heavy police presence.
And look, this isn't just a story about Turkey. This kind of struggle is happening all over the globe. The legacy of protest on March 8th takes so many different forms, from huge strikes against gender violence in Latin America to demands for equal pay in Europe. The stakes are often incredibly high.
Just think about the case of the girl in the blue bra in Egypt during the 2011 uprising. The images of her being brutally assaulted by soldiers during a protest went viral, and she became this global symbol of the very real violence women can face when they dare to step into public space and demand their rights.
So, what a journey, right? We've gone from the revolutionary roots with Clara Zetkin, to a world-changing strike in Russia, to its adoption by the UN, and now to its modern-day reality as both a commercial holiday and a day of fierce political protest.
Which leaves all of us with a pretty big question. March 8th was never supposed to be just another day on the calendar. It was created to be an engine for change, a day to demand rights, not just receive discounts. So what should it be today? A celebration of how far we've come? A day to remember the sacrifices made? Or is it a call to action? What does March 8th mean to you?